it'd be definitely appreciated. Anybody want to start?
Shalom, Mishpachar family. I'm Mark Tazawan from North Carolina. I've been in this walk since '97. Been knowing Choir, the Truth Seekers on to the Chosen Seed for quite some time via Facebook and YouTube, but I finally meet all you in Detroit for the first time. It's a blessing to be here, and I thank the Lord that I'm here with you all today.
Is there another? Where you coming?
Is there another?
All right, so see, we got nobody else to stand, so we'll get right into this lesson. It's gonna be titled "Similitudes of the MessiYah." All right. I'm going to be asking y'all some questions throughout, to get y'all feedback. So again, similitudes of the MessiYah. Let's start where I normally start. Give me Psalms 40:7. Psalms 40:7.
The book of Psalms, chapter 40 and verse 7. Then said I, Lo, I come in the volume of the book.
I do what?
I come in the volume of the book.
So right here he says, I come in the volume of the book. Read.
It is written of me.
What is the it right here? Anybody, what's the it? The book, right? Read that from the top again.
Psalms chapter 40 and verse 7. Then said I, Lo, I come in the volume of the book. It is written of me.
So he says, I come in the volume of the book. It is written of me. Get me Luke 24:26. Luke 24, verse 26.
The book of Luke, chapter 24 and verse 26. Ought not MessiYah to have suffered these things and to enter into his glory?
Go ahead.
And beginning at Moses.
Beginning where?
Beginning at Moses.
Beginning at the law. Read.
And all the prophets.
All the way to Malachi. Read.
He expounded unto them in the scriptures the things concerning himself.
So he started all the way at Moses, and then he brought it through the prophets, and then he explained to them concerning who?
Himself.
Concerning himself. All right. Get me John 5:39.
The book of Yehukanan, chapter 5 and verse 39. Search the scriptures.
According to the book, where is the scriptures at? Genesis to Malachi, right? So he says, search what?
Search the scriptures.
Search the scriptures, the Old Testament, quote unquote. Read.
For in them you think you have eternal life.
For in them you think you have eternal life. Read.
And they are they which testify of me.
So he's letting us know that these scriptures in the Old Testament are the ones that testify of him. Get me Isaiah 8:20.
MessiYah, chapter 8 and verse 20. To the law,
to the what?
To the law and to the testimony.
So to the law. He is the walking law. Right? Read.
To the law and to the testimony.
So he just told us that these scriptures are the scriptures that testify of him. And we know that the law was always at his mouth. So it says to the law, which is him, and the testimony, the scriptures are about him. Read.
If they speak not according to his word.
So if they don't believe in this, read.
It is because there is no light in them.
So it's a whole bunch of people walking around with no light in them. Because they stopped the book at Malachi. All right, let's get Hosea 12 and 10.
The book of Hosea, chapter 12 and verse 10. I have also spoken by the prophets.
By who?
By the prophets.
I have also spoken by the prophets. Moses was one of the greatest prophets. And then all the way out. Go, read.
And I have multiplied visions.
I have did what?
Multiplied
So
visions.
he multiplied visions. Read.
I have multiplied visions. And use similitudes.
And use what?
And use similitudes.
Use similitudes. What's the meaning of similitudes? Anybody? Right. Something that's similar. Right? So he says, I've used similitudes. Read.
By the ministry of the
So
prophets.
he used something similar to give you a story of something that's pointing to something. So all through scripture, the Messiah says, it is written of me. These scriptures are the ones that testify of me. So we're going to go into a couple of these stories and show you the end time battle, because there's what? Nothing new under the sun. Right? Now you need two things. If you got works, you also need what? Faith to go along with it, right? So let's go to Hebrews 11. Read verse 1.
The book of Hebrews, chapter 11 and verse 1. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen.
So, like, basically, when Noah was on the scene, never rained at this point, and the Most High tells him, build this boat. He don't got nothing to really go off, just his faith. I believe what he's telling me is going to happen. If I don't build this boat, I'm going to die. So imagine how strange this guy looked out here in the desert building a giant boat. And how many people is ridiculing him and talking about him like a dog. You see this old fool, man? And he out here building a boat in the desert. It took faith to do that. So all through here, we can read about a whole bunch of our great foreparents reading how they had faith, how Abraham was willing to kill his son because he had faith in this. But there's somebody in here that don't really fit, or it would seem like on the surface. Let's jump down to verse 31.
Verse 31. By faith, the harlot Rahab.
The who?
The harlot Rahab.
The harlot Rahab. Now, when you think of a harlot or a loose woman or a stripper or something, what's the first thing come to your mind? Does kingdom come to your mind? No? No, and that's not furthest thing that comes to mind. Other thoughts come in like women, get my man. Make sure dudes, if you ain't right, you thinking like, man, it's gonna be an easy one for me. Read that again.
Verse 31. By faith, the harlot Rahab.
By faith, the harlot Rahab, read,
perished, not with them that believe not, when she had received the spies with peace.
So this harlot had a lot of faith to be able to do what she did. So again, when we think of a harlot, it's not a pretty thought that normally comes into the mind, or any stripper or any woman wearing sleazy attire. It's not a good thought that normally comes to mind. But we know with the Most High, he says that which highly esteemed among men, he don't look at it in that way. That's how men view these things. So let's get Matthew 1, and we're going to pick it up at verse 3. Mary Magdalene was quote unquote a what? She was what? She was a harlot. But she was always around the Messiah, though, right? Matthew 1, pick it up at verse 3.
MessiYah, chapter 1 and verse 3. And Judas begot Perez, and Zerah, and Thamar. And Perez begot Esrom, and Esrom begot Aram.
Matter of fact, take it back a little bit. But start at the beginning of that verse.
Verse 3?
Yep.
And Judas begot Perez, and Zerah, and Thamar.
Of Tamar. Mm-hmm. Who is Tamar? How did these two children come into being? Because Tamar played what? She played a harlot, right? So she dressed up and put on an harlot's attire, and this is how these two children came into being. Read.
And Perez begot Esrom, and Esrom begot Aram.
Jump down to verse 5.
Verse 5. And Salam begot Boaz, and Rechab, and Boaz begot Obed of Ruth, and Obed begot Jesse.
So Ruth right here, right? Now we notice there's only 4 women. It's going to be 4 women mentioned in the Messiah's genealogy. Normally in the genealogy, women's name is never ever mentioned. So why are they mentioning these certain women in the genealogy? So we just got Ruth right here. What is it with Ruth? Why is Ruth's name mentioned in this genealogy? Anybody? Well, the thing with Ruth is Ruth went wholeheartedly after Boaz, right? But the scripture says if a man finds a wife, he finds a good thing. But Ruth did what? The opposite of that, right? Now, she wasn't a bad woman, but she wasn't following, quote unquote, protocol, so to speak. Read.
And Jesse begot David the king, and David the king begot Solomon, of her that had been the wife of Uriah.
So Solomon right here came from Uriah's wife. What did Uriah's wife do? She did what? She played the harlot, right? Because she was married to Uriah, and David saw her off that roof and did an unrighteous thing with her. But Solomon came from this union. So we got these 3 women here, all some kind of way they trying to point to them as being harlots. And then the next woman in here is mentioned is the Messiah's own mother. But that's another story. So let's get into Rahab the harlot and try to get behind this story and what's really going on with this story. Let's go to Joshua chapter 2 and pick it up at verse 1. Let's see if we can pick some of these similitudes out in these stories. Joshua chapter 2 and verse 1.
Joshua chapter 2 and verse 1. And Joshua, the son of Nun, sent out of Shittim 2 men to spy secretly.
To do what?
To spy secretly.
2 men to spy secretly. Read.
Saying, go, view the land, even Jericho. And they went and came into a harlot's house.
Into where?
Into a harlot's house.
Into a harlot's house. Read.
Named Rahab, and lodged there.
So they went into, so right here, what does Joshua's name mean? Salvation. Go ahead.
Yahuwah's salvation.
Yahuwah's salvation. Who has the same name as Joshua?
The Messiah.
The Messiah. All right. So right here we got Joshua, Yah's salvation. And it says it sent out of Shittim 2 men to spy secretly. What's another name for a spy? Yeah, that's a good one. That ain't what I'm looking for. That's too intelligent right there. Two spies secretly. 2 spies. The law says that by 2 or 3 witnesses, right? So right here we got in this verse, we got Yah's salvation, or Yahusha. Then we have 2 spies, which would represent what? 2 witnesses, right? And then we have Rahab, the harlot. So it's another book in the Bible that got all 3 of these, right? Revelation's got the Messiah coming, the 2 witnesses, and we have a harlot in Revelations, right? All right, let's read. Verse 2.
And it was told the king of Jericho, saying, behold, there came men here tonight of the children of Israel to search out the country.
Wait a minute. In verse 1 it said that they came in there secretly. So how does he know that they're there? It's the same thing, just like today. No matter how secretive you think you've been with whatever it is that you're doing, these people know about it. Whether it be through the cameras, Facebook, YouTube, whatever it be, they know about it. Same thing. Read.
And the king of Jericho sent unto Rahab, saying, bring forth the men that are come to you, which are entered into your house, for they be come to search out all the country. And the woman took the 2 men and hid them, and said, this there come men unto me, but I wist not where they went. And it came to pass about the time of shutting the gate, when it was dark, that the men went out. Whither the men went, I will not. Pursue after them quickly, for you shall overtake them.
So she just said that she don't know where they went. Is she telling the truth?
No.
A harlot wouldn't tell a lie, would she? Well, she just told and said she don't know where they went. But again, Joshua did something that Moses failed to do, right? He led them where? He led them to the promised land. Let's get 2 Corinthians 13:1. Yeah, we're coming back here.
The book of 2 Corinthians, chapter 13, in verse 1.
This is covering the witnesses, right? Go ahead.
This is the 3rd time I am coming to you in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses shall every word be established.
So this is covering the two spies or the two witnesses. Get Deuteronomy 19 and 15.
Deuteronomy chapter 19 and verse 15. One witness shall not rise up against a man for an iniquity or for any sin, in any sin that he sinned. At the mouth of two witnesses.
Of what?
At the mouth of two witnesses.
At the mouth of two witnesses. This is why they sending the two witnesses. Read.
Or at the mouth of three witnesses shall the matter be established.
Shall the matter be established. Let's get Genesis 18 and 1.
Bereshit chapter 18 and verse 1. And Yah appeared unto him in the plains of Mamre, and he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day. And he lifted up his eyes and looked, and lo, 3 men stood by him.
So you got 3 men there. One, the Most High, and he got what with him? 2 witnesses with him. So he follows his own law. Let's get Revelations 11 and 3, the beginning of that, and then we're going back to Rahab.
The book of Revelations, chapter 11 and verse 3. And I will give power unto my 2 witnesses.
Unto who?
Unto my 2 witnesses.
And I will give power unto my 2 witnesses. All right, we coming back. Let's go back to Joshua.
Joshua chapter 2, and we at verse 6.
Hold on, let me get it. Pick it up at verse 5 again.
Verse 5. And it came to pass about the time of the shutting of the gate, when it was dark, that men went out. Whether the men went, I would not. Pursue after them quickly, for you shall overtake them. But she had brought them up to the roof of her house, and hid them with the stalks of flax, which she had laid in order upon the roof.
Now, in this story, Rahab don't represent the mother of harlots, but she represents who? Let's get it. Let's get on Hosea 1. Pick it up at about verse 3.
The book of Hosea, chapter 1 and verse 3. So he went and took Gomer, the daughter of Diblan.
Matter of fact, pick it up at verse 2.
Verse 2. The beginning of the word of Yah by Hosea. And Yahuwah said unto Hosea, Go, take unto you a wife of whoredoms and children of whoredoms. For the land hath committed great whoredom, departing from Yahuwah.
So we know that he gave the northern kingdom a bill of divorcement because they played the harlot. Even though Judah played the harlot as well, but he never gave Judah that bill of divorcement. So Rahab is representing the children of Israel right here. Let's go back to Joshua. Pick it up at verse 5 again.
Joshua chapter 2 and verse 5. And it came to pass about the time of shutting of the gate, when it was dark, that the men went out. Whether the men went, I wot not. Pursue after them quickly, for you shall overtake them.
So right here again, Rahab is lying. Do we have any other stories in the book where somebody told as the world would call it, a white lie or so-called righteous lie? Go ahead.
David, when he was running from Saul, he came to the Saul priest after bad, and he told him he was on a mission for Saul. Saul was actually trying to take his life and told his lie so he could get the food he was going to eat.
Well, that's a good one right there. Let's go to David. Let's go to 1 Samuel 21. Now it ain't no excuse to lie, but we know David was afraid in these stories. Same thing when Abraham lied about his wife, right? But it still ain't no excuse to lie. They were scared, but the Most High is not giving us what? So the Messiah came through and showed you how to walk that out. So let's get 1 Sam 21 and pick it up at verse 11.
1 Samuel chapter 21 and verse 11. And the servants of Ashish said unto him, Is not this David the king of the land? Did they not sing one to another of him in dances, saying, Saul hath slain his thousands and David his 10,000? And David laid up these words in his heart.
So David took these words that they speak into heart. Read.
And was sore afraid.
He was what?
And was sore afraid.
He was sore afraid. Read.
Of Ashish, the king of Gath.
Go ahead.
And he changed his behavior before them.
So David is going into an acting job. Read.
He changed his behavior before them and feigned himself mad in their hands.
So David has started acting a fool. This the king doing this. Read.
And scrabbled on the doors of the gate.
Make scratching with his nails. Read.
And let his spittle fall down upon his beard.
So David is out here acting a fool, foaming at the mouth and everything. Is David crazy?
No.
He doing a quote-unquote white lie. Even though he ain't talking or nothing. But he acting right here. Knowing ain't nothing wrong with him. Read.
Then said Achish unto his servants, Lo, you see the man is mad.
You see this man mad? This guy ain't the king. This dude spitting and foaming at the mouth. Scratching on the door. Read.
Wherefore then have you brought him unto me? Have I need of madmen? That you have brought this fellow to play the madman in my presence? Shall this fellow come in my house?
Get this guy away from here. This dude slobbing all over the place. Again, this is what we would call the world would probably say it was a white lie. You know what I'm saying? Let's get another example of this. Let's get 2 Kings 10. Ain't no excuse because the Messiah done showed you. 2 Kings 10, pick it up at verse 18.
The book of 2 Kings, chapter 10, and verse 18. And Jehu gathered all the people together and said unto them, Ahab served Baal a little, but Jehu served him much.
Go ahead.
Now therefore call unto me all the prophets of Baal.
So right here, this guy is getting together all the prophets of Baal. Not the Most High prophets, but all the prophets of Baal. Read.
All his servants and all his priests. Let none be wanting, for I have a great sacrifice to do to Baal. Whosoever shall be wanting, he shall not live. But Jehu did it in subtlety.
Subtlety. That word right there, go back to who?
Serpent.
Serpent in the garden. So Jehu is doing something slick right now. Read.
To the intent that he might destroy the worshipers of Baal.
So this guy is about to use a lie and it's something deceitful in order to kill the prophets of Baal. Read.
And Jehu said, proclaim a solemn assembly for Baal. And they proclaimed it.
So they getting together a giant feast, having all of the priests, all of the prophets of Baal, everybody that rock with Baal, come to this feast. Read.
And Jehu sent through all Israel, and all the worshippers of Baal came, so that there was not a man left that came not. And they came into the house of Baal, and the house of Baal was full from one end to another.
You see that? So you got a unrighteous prophet, or Baal, which represents the devil. They say the house was full from the front to the back of it. Like them TV ministries that we see when they in stadiums, full from one end to the other end. So when you try to do something for the Most High, you barely can get anybody to come. But all of these prophets, they say that boy is packed. Standing room only. Read.
And he said unto him that was over the vestry, bring forth vestments for all the worshippers of Baal.
You can bring them a change of clothes. He got them some gear. When y'all come, I got your gear for you. Versace and all of this stuff, I got it for you. Like that Babylonian garment. Read.
And he brought forth vestments. And Jehu went. And excuse me, y'all.
You're right. You get it.
Jehonadab, the son of Rechab, entered into the house of Baal, and said unto the worshippers of Baal, search and look that there be here with you none of the servants of Yahuwah.
You see that? So make sure it's none of the Most High's people in here. Make sure, because we don't want to kill none of them, because they shouldn't have been there no way. Read.
But the worshippers of Baal only.
But we know a lot of our people try to walk them lines and say, you know what? I know he don't believe in the Messiah, but you know, we gonna hold hands with him. No. Read.
And when they went into to offer sacrifices and burnt offerings, Jehu appointed 80 men without, and said, if any man whom I have brought into your hands escape, he that let him go, his life shall be for the life of him.
His life shall be the life of him. Read.
And it came to pass, as soon as he had made an end of offering the burnt offering, that Jehu said to the guard and to the captains, go in and slay them.
Go in and do what?
Go in and slay them.
Go in and slay them. Now, Jehu was actually doing a good thing. But in order to get them there, what did he do? False pretense. He used deception to get them there. Let's see what the Most High felt about it. Jump down to verse 30.
Verse 30. And Yahuwah said unto Jehu, because you have done well.
Because what?
Because you have done well.
So even though he told a lie under false pretenses to get them there, the Most High still said what? Read it again.
And Yahuwah said unto Jehu, because you have done well in executing that which is right in my eyes, and have done unto the house of Ahab according to all that was mine heart.
Was in mine heart. Read.
Your children of the 4th generation shall sit on the throne of Israel.
So that's something deep right there. Even though this guy used false pretenses to do what he was doing, he basically told a lie in order to get them there. But the Most High still was pleased with what he was doing, that he killed a gang of these false prophets, using false pretenses to get them there. But when you read the rest of the story, you know that Jehu still went out and did wickedly. Still was a dummy. He just told you, in the 4th generation, your children gonna get to sit, and he still went off and did wicked. Pure madness. Let's go back to Joshua, chapter 2. Yeah, that was 2 Kings 10, all the way down to basically verse 30. Let's go back to Joshua 2. We're going to pick it up at verse 6.
Joshua chapter 2 and verse 6. But she had brought them up to the roof of the house, and hid them with the stalks of the flax.
So she hid them with the stalks of flax. What is flax used to make? Linen, right? So it's a fabric. What color is that rope that Rahab got? Scarlet, right? So I believe that on that roof was red fabric. Just keep that in mind. Read.
Which she had laid in order upon the roof. And the men pursued after them the way to Jordan unto the fords. And as soon as they which pursued after them were gone out, they shut the gate.
Read.
And before they were laid down, she came unto them upon the roof.
So these men is hiding underneath something that's red. What does that symbolize, anybody? It's like symbolizing that they are being covered with the blood of the Messiah. Read.
And she said unto the men, I know that Yahuwah hath given you the land.
She said, what?
I know that Yahuwah hath given you the land.
I believe they've given you the land.
I know that Yahuwah hath given you the land.
Remember over there in Hebrews 11, it said by her faith, right? She's saying right here, flat out, I know it. Not I believe. She says, I know he have given you the land. Read.
And that your terror is fallen upon us.
That your what?
Your terror is fallen upon us.
Your terror has fallen upon us. Oh, what we got right here. Let's get Ezekiel 32 and 32. Ezekiel 32 and 32. We're coming back to that other spot. Go ahead.
Ezekiel chapter 32 and verse 32. For I have caused my terror.
Cause what?
My terror.
Read.
In the land of the living.
Read on.
And he shall be laid in the midst of the uncircumcised, with them that are slain with the sword, even Pharaoh and all his multitude, saith Yahuwah.
So he says, I've caused my terror. Let's get 2 Corinthians 5 and 11. So keep your hands at Joshua 2, because that's the focus of this at the moment. 2 Corinthians 5 and 11.
The book of 2 Corinthians chapter 5 and verse 11. Knowing therefore the terror of Yahuwah.
The terror of who?
The terror of Yahuwah.
Read.
We persuade men.
We do what?
We persuade men.
We persuade men. So this is going to come back into play in a minute. Let's go back to Joshua. Chapter 2.
Verse 9.
Yep, verse 9 again.
Joshua chapter 2 and verse 9. And he said unto them, unto the men, and she said unto the men, I know that Yahuwah hath given you the land, and that your terror is fallen upon us, and that all the inhabitants of the land faint because of you.
So this is when Joshua, which has the same name as the Messiah, they know that he's coming. So it says, the terror is fallen upon us, and that all the inhabitants of the land faint because of you. What we think going to happen when MessiYah come back? That same thing. Let's get Isaiah 13 and pick it up at verse 6.
Isaiah chapter 13 and verse 6. Howl you, for the day of Yahuwah is at hand.
For what day is it?
For the day of Yahuwah is at hand.
For the day of Yahuwah is at hand. Read.
It shall come as a destruction.
As what?
As a destruction from the Almighty.
Go ahead.
Therefore shall all hands be faint.
That's exactly what it said when Joshua was on the way, that they was faint. Read.
And every man's heart shall melt.
She said, our hearts did melt. Read.
And they shall be afraid. Pains and sorrows shall take hold of them. They shall be in pain as a woman that travailed.
So men gonna be in pain like women that's having babies. Read.
They shall be amazed one at another. Their faces shall be as flames.
Go ahead.
Behold, the day of Yahuwah come, cruel, both with wrath and fierce anger, to lay the land desolate.
To do what?
To lay the land desolate.
And we're gonna see that's exactly what Joshua done in Jericho. Let's go back to Joshua 2. Pick it up where we left off at.
Joshua chapter 2, we pick it up at verse 9 again. And she said unto the men, I know that Yahuwah hath given you the land, and that your terror is fallen upon us, and that all the inhabitants of the land faint because of you. For we have heard that Yahuwah dried up the waters of the Red Sea.
So they well aware of the stuff that's been going on before they got to Jericho. Read.
When you came out of Egypt, and what you did unto the two kings of the Amorites that were on the other side of Jordan, Sihon and Og, whom you utterly destroyed.
Read on.
And as soon as we had heard these things, our hearts did melt.
Same thing we just read over there in Isaiah 13. Read.
Neither did there remain any more courage in any man because of you. For Yahuwah, your power, He is Yah in heaven above.
So even this pagan woman know the Most High's name and know that He's the real power of heaven and the earth. That's big in itself. Read.
And in the earth beneath. Now therefore, I pray you, swear unto me by Yahuwah.
Swear unto me by who?
By Yahuwah.
By Baal.
By Yahuwah.
Read.
Since I have showed you kindness, that you will also show kindness unto my father's house, and give me a true token.
Go ahead.
And that you will save alive my father and my mother.
Now notice, she not exhibiting harlot's behavior. She worried about her family. Over her, she ain't even just talking about me. She mentioning her family. Save them alive. This is not the typical harlot. She'll be thinking thought stuff and make sure you get my dancing shoes. And all types of foolishness. But this one right here, she talking about her family. Read.
And they will save alive my father and my mother and my brethren and my sisters and all that they have.
All that I have.
All that they have.
All that they have. Read.
And deliver our lives from death.
And deliver our lives from death. Hold this. Let's get 1 Corinthians 15 and 54.
First Corinthians chapter 15 and verse 54. So when this corruptible shall have put on incorruption, and this mortal shall have put on immortality, then shall be brought to pass the saying that is written, death is swallowed up in victory. O death, where is your sting? O grave, where is your victory?
Because the Messiah is going to actually finish out what they was wanting Joshua and the two witnesses to do. Let's go back to Joshua. And pick it up at verse 14.
Verse 14. And the men answered her, our life for yours.
Read that again.
And the man answered her, our life for yours.
Now, what does that sound like right there? Our life for yours. Anybody? Didn't the Messiah lay down his life for our life? Read it again.
And the men answered her, our life for yours.
Go ahead.
If you utter not this our business, and it shall be, when Yahuwah hath given us the land, that we will deal kindly and truly with you.
So he says, again, faith, confidence. He don't say if he give us the land, when he has given us the land. Read.
Then she let them down by a cord through the window.
Matter of fact, hold that right there, and let's get John 1:29.
Yehukanah, chapter 1 and verse 29. The next day, Yehukanah seeth Yahushua coming unto him and said, Behold the Lamb of Yah, which take away the sins of the world.
Let's do what?
Take away the sin of the world.
Now, how did he take away the sins of the world? Because he laid his life down for ours. Go back. Pick it up at where you left off at.
Verse 15. Then she let them down by a cord.
Matter of fact, hold that. Get Psalm 7 and 5.
The book of Psalms, chapter 7 and verse 5. Let the enemy persecute my soul and take it. Yeah, let him tread down my life upon the earth.
So we know that this is actually physically David saying this, but he really speaking in spirit about the Messiah. Read that again.
Let the enemy persecute my soul and take it. Yeah, let him tread down my life upon the earth and lay my honor in the dust.
That's exactly what they did to him. Let's get John 10 and 15.
The book of John, chapter 10 and verse 15. As the Father know me, even so I know the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep.
But do what?
I lay down my life for the sheep.
So I lay down my life for the sheep. Let's go back to Joshua. Pick it up at verse 16.
Verse 16.
Matter of fact, 15.
Verse 15. Then she let them down by a cord through the window, for her house was upon the town wall.
Where's her house at?
Upon the town wall.
So her house, keep that in mind, her house is on this wall. Read.
And she dwelt upon the wall. And she said unto them, Get you to the mountain, lest the pursuers meet you, and hide yourselves there 3 days.
How many days?
3 days.
Wait a minute, there's a whole bunch of stuff happening in them 3 days, right? Go ahead. How long the two witnesses gonna prophesy? 3 days. 3.5 years. But go ahead.
Until the pursuers be returned, and afterward may you go your way.
Go ahead.
And the men said unto her, We will be blameless.
We will be what?
We will be blameless.
MessiYah is blameless. Read.
Of this your oath which you have made us swear. Behold, when you come into the land, you shall bind this line of scarlet thread.
You do what?
Bind this line of scarlet thread in the window which you did let us down by. And you shall bring your father and your mother and your brethren and all your father's house and all your father's household home unto you.
So it's Rahab's job to get all of her people to come to her house. This is the only way that they can be saved. Now, bring this into modern times, right? We got a harlot or a dope boy, right? And he the person that the Most High choose to bring in his people. Do you think that dope boy that's been walking around with his pants hanging down, cussing people out, smoking blunts, doing all this, riding around, acting a fool, do you think his family gonna take it from him easy? Absolutely not, because they're going to always view you as this person that's doing this. But the Most High is using this woman to say, if they not in this house, they're going to die. So this woman is a harlot, so you can imagine all her friends and her family look down on her. Oh, don't let them kids go over there, because I don't want her growing up looking at that mess. She be twerking on YouTube and everything. She do all of this mess. You know what I'm saying? But he using a harlot, telling them flat out, if they ain't in here, they are destroyed. So again, that which is highly esteemed among men, Most High don't view it like that. Read that verse again, 17.
Verse 17. And the men said unto her, we will be blameless of this your oath, which you have made us swear. Behold, when we come into the land, you shall bind this line of scarlet thread in the window.
That's key. Bind this line of scarlet thread. What color is scarlet?
Red.
Red, right? Read.
Which you did let us down by. And you shall bring your father and your mother and your brethren and all your father's household home unto you. And it shall be that whosoever shall go out of the door of your house.
Do what?
That shall go out of the doors of your house.
Whosoever shall go out of the doors of your house, keep that in mind. Read.
Into the street, his blood shall be upon his head.
So if you go out of this house, the blood gonna be on your own head. Read.
And we will be guiltless.
Read on.
And whosoever shall be with you in the house, his blood shall be on our head, if any hand be upon him.
So what does this take us back to? We have what? Passover. Let's go back to Exodus 12. Same thing. That rope is representing the blood. Exodus 12, and pick it up at verse 21.
Shemot, chapter 12 and verse 21. Then Moshe called for all the elders of Israel and said unto them, draw out and take you a lamb according to your families and kill the Passover.
And do what?
And kill the Passover.
Read on. And MessiYah is what?
The Passover lamb.
Read.
And you shall take a bunch of hyssop and dip it in the blood that is in the basin, and strike the lintel and the two side posts with the blood that is in the basin. And none of you shall go out at the door of his house.
None of you shall go out in the streets. Because if you not in this house, what happens? You dying. Read.
Until the morning. For Yahuwah will pass through and smite the Egyptians.
What?
Pass through and smite the Egyptians.
Go ahead.
And when he see the blood upon the lintel.
When he see what?
The blood upon the lintel.
When he see that red rope in your window. Read.
And on the two side posts, Yahuwah will pass over the door.
He will do what?
Will pass over the door.
He will pass over the door. So this red rope is taking us right back to this. So we know we need the blood of the Messiah to be under his house, under his roof, so nothing can get us. Let's go back to Joshua 2. Pick it up at verse 21.
Verse 21. And he said, according unto your words, so be it. And she sent them away, and they departed. And she bound the scarlet line in the window.
How long did it take for her to put that line there?
Immediately.
She put it there immediately. She didn't play around and get on the phone and do nothing with the thoughts and say this. She did it immediately. She did it immediately. Seeing the urgency, because she already told you, we've been watching y'all. We know what y'all gonna do when y'all get here. So she put all that thought behavior away immediately and said, you know what? If I don't get this thing right, if I don't get out here urgently and get my people right and get them in this house, they all dead. Read.
And they went and came unto the mountain and abode there 3 days.
How long?
3 days.
Read on.
Until the pursuers were returned. And the pursuers sought them throughout all the way, but found them not.
Go ahead.
So the 2 men returned and descended from the mountain and passed over.
And did what?
And passed over.
Pass over. Read.
And came to Joshua, the son of Nun, and told him all the things that befell them. And they said unto Joshua, truly Yahuwah hath delivered into our hands.
He did what?
Truly Yahuwah hath delivered into our hands.
Now he's saying this right here, and he ain't even did it yet. But he talking so confidently and so bravely, he already know that it's going to take place. So he talking like it already has happened. Read.
All the land, for even all the inhabitants of the country do faint because of us.
Same exact thing when the MessiYah come back, riding that horse. The land gonna faint and melt. Just like it was talking about in Isaiah 13. Let's go to Joshua 6. Pick it up at verse 11. We're going to skip through it.
Joshua chapter 6 and verse 11. So the ark of Yahuwah compassed the city, going about it.
What does the ark represent? The covenant, right? A MessiYah is the law in the flesh, right? Go ahead.
And they came into the camp and lodged in the camp. And Joshua rose up early in the morning, and the priests took up the ark of Yahuwah.
Go ahead.
And 7 priests.
How many?
7 priests.
Oh, this right here, what you got, it says, and 7 priests. Give me Revelations 8 and 2. So we got 7 priests right here. Revelations 8 and 2. We coming back to that Joshua.
Revelations chapter 8 and verse 2. And I saw the 7 Malachim.
The who?
The 7 Malachim.
So we got 7 Malachims right here. 7 priests over here. 7 Malachims right here. Read.
Which stood before Yah. And to them were given 7 trumpets.
7 what?
7 trumpets.
7 trumpets. Let's go back to Joshua. Pick it up at verse 13 again.
Verse 13. And 7 priests bearing 7 trumpets.
So we got 7 priests bearing 7 trumpets. Read.
Of ram's horns before the ark of Yahuwah went on continually and blew with the trumpets. And the armed men went before them, but the rearward came after the ark of Yahuwah. The priests going in and blowing with the trumpets. And the second day they compassed the city once and returned into the camp. And so they did 6 days.
6 days. Read.
And it came to pass on the 7th day.
What day?
On the 7th day.
Now, a lot of people think that this is talking about they did this on the Sabbath. I don't believe that this was on the Sabbath. I believe this is the 7th day of them marching. Not actually on the Sabbath, though. On the Sabbath. Read.
Only on that day they compassed the city 7 times.
How many times?
The 7 times.
So compass means what? To go around it. What does Jericho mean? It means moon. So it's a moon city. Think in the future. It's a moon city, right? It's a place over there that they worship the moon and they walk around something 7 times, right? Could it be they imitating this? Read.
And it came to pass at the 7th time when the priest blew with the trumpets, Joshua said unto the people, shout.
Do what?
Shout, for Yahuwah hath given you the city.
So he says, shout, for Yahuwah hath given you the city. All what we got right here, let's get 1 Thessalonians 4. And so Joshua told him right here, he says, shout, Yahuwah have given you the city. And we know that the trumpets is there as well. 1 Thessalonians 4 and 16.
1 Thessalonians chapter 4 and verse 16.
Matter of fact, pick it up at verse 15.
Verse 15. For this we say unto you by the word of the Master, that we which are alive and remain unto the coming of the Master shall not prevent them which are asleep.
Read.
For the Master himself shall descend from Shamayim with a shout.
With a what?
With a shout.
Joshua told him to do what? Shout. For he have given you the city. Read.
With the voice of the archangel. And with the trump
With
of
the what?
With the trump.
With the trump of what? Read.
Of Yah. And the dead in MessiYah shall rise first.
So I want y'all to remember that right there. Shall rise first. Let's go back to Joshua 6. And we're going to pick it up at verse 17 again.
Verse 17. Joshua chapter 6 and 17. And the city shall be accursed, even it, and all that are therein, to Yahuwah. Only Rahab, the harlot, shall live.
Only Rahab, the harlot, shall live. Out of all these people, a harlot gonna be saved. A twerker, somebody get out and act a fool, is gonna be saved. Read.
She and all that are with her in the house, because she hid the messengers that we sent.
Jump down to verse 19.
Verse 19. But all the silver and gold and vessels of brass and iron are consecrated unto Yahuwah. They shall come into the treasury of Yahuwah.
Because we know that these other kingdoms got his silver and his gold, and he said every one of them gonna bring it back. Matter of fact, pick it up at verse 20.
20. Verse 20 in Joshua chapter 6. So the people shouted when the priests blew with the trumpets. And it came to pass, when the people heard the sound of the trumpet.
When the people did what?
Heard the sound of the trumpet.
Because MessiYah coming back with a great trump. Read.
And the people shouted with a great shout, that the wall fell down flat.
The wall fell down flat. Where was Rahab staying at? Rahab's house was on the wall. Read.
So that the people went up into the city, every man straight before him, and they took the city. And they utterly destroyed all that was in the city.
They did what?
They utterly destroyed all that was in the city.
They utterly destroyed all that was in the city. So Rahab stayed on that wall, right? So when that wall fell, everything around them died except for where Rahab was at. What does that go to, anybody? Anybody? Let's go to Psalms 91.
Psalms chapter 91 and verse.
Yeah, go ahead.
Verse 5. You shall not be afraid for the terror by night, nor for the arrow that fly by day, nor for the pestilence that walk in darkness, nor for the destruction that waste at noonday.
So don't be afraid of none of these things. If you made that covenant with the Most High, if you under that roof, if you under that blood, there's no reason to be afraid. Read.
1,000 shall fall at your side.
1,000 shall fall at your side. So Rahab is on that wall, but where she at ain't no harm coming to her. So she looking out that window and seeing 1,000 fall here. Read.
And 10,000 at your right hand.
10,000 at the right hand, but what?
But it shall not come near you.
But it shall not come near you. Read.
Only with your eyes shall you behold and see the reward of the wicked.
So she's looking out this in that wall. She's looking at the behavior of the wicked, even though she will be considered wicked to the rest of the world. The Most High used this quote-unquote harlot to save these people and to get them in the house and to be under that covenant or under that blood because Joshua was coming or Yahusha is coming. Same thing. But when he get here, he got a man to fight. So we switch gears a little bit. Let's go to 1 Samuel 17. First Samuel 17. Similitudes of the Messiah. Pick it up at verse 1.
The book of 1 Samuel, chapter 17 and verse 1. Now the Philistines gathered together their armies to battle.
Go ahead.
And were gathered together at Shechem, which belonged to Judah, and pitched between Shechem and Ezekah and Ephes Damim. And Saul and the men of Israel were gathered together and pitched by the valley of Elah, and set the battle in array against the Philistines.
Go ahead.
And the Philistines stood on a mountain.
So you got the Philistines on a mountain. This is a picture of the end. Read.
On the one side, and Israel stood on a mountain on the other side.
So they standing on a mountain on one side, they on this side, we on this side, and what's between us? Read.
And there was a valley between them.
The valley of Jehoshaphat. Read.
And there went out a champion out of the camp of the Philistines.
We got a bully, we got a champ that's going out that everybody's afraid of. Read.
Out of the camp of the Philistines, named Goliath, and of Gad, whose height was 6 cubits and a span. And he had a helmet of brass upon his head.
A helmet of brass. One of them beasts is brass. In Daniel, read.
And he was armed with a coat of mail, and the weight of the coat was 5,000 shekels of brass. And he had greaves of brass, his legs, and a target of brass between his shoulders. And the staff of his spear was like a weaver's beam, and his spear's head weighed 600 shekels of iron.
So he was 6 cubits, and his spear weighed what?
600 shekels of iron.
Kind of like some sixes or something. Read.
And one bearing a shield went before him. And he stood and cried out the armies of Israel, and said unto them, Why are you come out to set your battle in array? Am not I a Philistine?
Am not I a Philistine? This guy's looking at you. You think y'all about to fight me? This is how this dude is talking. The bully on the block. Read.
Am not I a Philistine, and you servants of Shaul? Choose you a man for you.
Get anybody I'm waiting on. I'll take anybody. Read.
And let him come down to me. If he be able to fight with me.
Hold on, read that again.
If he be able to fight with me.
No, go a little bit before that.
I got you. Choose you a man for you, and let him come down.
Do what?
Let him come down.
Let him come down to me. MessiYah is where? Coming down here, right? Read.
If he be able to fight with me and to kill me, then will we be your servants. But if I prevail against him and kill him, then shall you be our servants and serve us.
Isaiah 14:1 says what? That they're going to be slaves, right? Go ahead.
When Shaul and all Israel heard those words of the Philistine, they were dismayed and greatly afraid.
They were dismayed and greatly afraid because this guy was speaking tough. Oh, what we got right here, get Revelations 13. And pick it up at verse 4.
Revelations chapter 13, verse 4. And they worshiped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast, And they worshiped the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast?
Who is like unto the beast? Read.
Who was able to make war with him?
Who can make war with me? That's Goliath talking tough. I'm a Philistine, and you bring this little punk to me? Who can make war with me? Read.
And there was given unto him a mouth, speaking great things.
Speaking what?
Speaking great things.
Because this is exactly what Goliath was doing. Read.
And blasphemies. And power was given unto him to continue 42 months.
How long is that? 3.5 years. Let's go back to Samuel. Pick it up at verse 17.
Verse 17. And Jesse said unto David his son, take now for your brethren an ephah of this parched corn, and these 10 loaves, and run to the camp to your brother.
Pick it up at verse 15.
Verse 15. But David went and returned from Shaul to feed his father's sheep.
To feed his father's sheep. The Messiah feeds who?
The sheep.
The sheep. He feeds his father's sheep. Read.
At Bethlehem.
At Bethlehem. The house of Yah was named Bethel, right?
And the Philistines drew near, morning and evening, and presented himself 40 days.
How many days?
40 days.
How long was the rain coming on the earth?
40 days.
How long did Moses fast?
40 days.
How long did the Messiah fast?
40 days.
How long did before the Messiah went back to the Samarim and told him not to touch him?
40 days.
Keep going.
And Jesse said unto David, his son, take now for your brethren an ephah of this parched corn, and these 10 loaves, and run to the camp to your brethren.
Matter of fact, jump down to verse 21.
Verse 21. For Israel and the Philistines had put the battle in array, army against army.
Army against army. Read.
And David left his carriage in the hand of the keeper of the carriage, and ran into the army, and came and saluted his brethren. And as he talked with them, behold, there came up the champion, the Philistine of Gath, Goliath by name, out of the armies of the Philistines, and spake according to the same words. And David heard them.
And David heard them. So the Messiah hear what? All the words that they speaking against him. When you go back and read Psalms, the 2nd chapter, they know exactly what all the armies are gathered together to do to try to come and fight them. Read it when you get time. Psalms chapter 2. Jump down to verse 33.
Verse 33. And Saul said to David, you are not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him.
Can't nobody fight this guy. That's why they said in Revelation, who is able to make war with him? Read.
For you are but a youth, and he a man of war from his youth.
So this guy been fighting since he was a kid. Read.
And David said unto Saul, your servant kept his father's sheep, and there came a lion.
There came what?
A lion.
There came a lion. Read.
And a bear.
And a what?
And a bear.
Read.
And took a lamb out of the flock.
And did what?
Took a lamb out of the flock.
The Messiah is the lamb. It took him out the flock and killed him. All we got right here, let's get Revelations 13 and 1. So we got a lion and a bear right here. Revelations 13 and 1.
Revelations chapter 13 and verse 1. And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy.
Go ahead.
And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear.
Feet of a what?
Of a bear.
Feet of a bear. Read.
And his mouth as the mouth of a lion.
Ain't what David just was fighting over there? A bear and a lion? Let's go back.
Oh, man.
He spoke to the prophets by what? By similitudes. Something similar. pick it up at verse 36. Matter of fact, keep going at 34.
34. And David said unto Saul, your servant kept his father's sheep, and there came a lion and a bear, and took a lamb out of the flock. And I went out after him, and smote him.
And did what?
And smote him.
And smote him. MessiYah gonna smite this lion and this bear. Read.
And delivered it out of his mouth. And when he arose against me, I caught him by his beard, and smote him.
Caught it by his beard and smote him. Read.
And slew him. Your servant slew both the lion and the bear.
So David got confidence. I already killed a lion and a bear. Bring this dude on. Ultimate confidence.
Right.
Read.
And this uncircumcised Philistine shall be as one of them.
And this goofball, he gonna be as one of them. This ogre, he gonna be as one of them. I took down a lion and a bear. Read.
Seeing he have defiled the armies of the living power.
Read.
David said, moreover, Yahuwah have delivered me out of the paw of the lion and out of the paw of the bear.
Read.
He will deliver me out of the hand of this Philistine. And Saul said unto David, go, and Yahuwah be with you.
Go ahead.
And Saul armed David with his armor, and put a helmet of brass upon his head, and he armed him with a coat of mail. And David girded his sword upon his armor, and essayed to go, for he had not proved it. And David said unto Saul, I cannot go with these.
I cannot go with these. This stuff too heavy for me. I can't go with this stuff. Keep that in mind. Read.
For I have not proved them. And David put them off him.
So he took this stuff off of him, which would make them look at him even more crazy. Man, you about to go fight this Philistine champion and you taking the stuff off? Read.
And he took his staff in his hand, and chose him 5 smooth stones
5 smooth stones. Read.
out of the brook, and put them in a shepherd's bag, which he had, even in a scrip. And his sling was in his hand. And he drew near to the Philistine.
Came he walking to the Philistine. Go.
And the Philistine came on and drew near unto David. And the man that bare the shield went before him.
So Goliath is not only walking himself, he got somebody in front of him with a shield. So it's really 2-on-1. Read.
And when the Philistine looked about and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth and ruddy.
Oh my goodness, he must have looked like Esau. Read. They say he was ruddy, right? That's the same word for red. Oh, that's another thing on my read.
And of a fair countenance.
And a fair countenance. So David looks nice. Read.
And the Philistine said unto David, Am I a dog?
Am I a dog? You coming to me, you don't got nothing in your hand but a slingshot? And you about to fight the Philistine, the champion that everybody is afraid of? Read.
And the Philistine cursed David by his gods.
He did what?
He cursed David by his gods.
Cursed David by his gods. Read.
And the Philistine said to David, Come to me, and I will give your flesh unto the fowls of the air.
I will do what?
I will give your flesh to the fowls of the air.
I will give your flesh to the fowls of the air. Keep that in mind. Read.
And to the beast of the field. And David said to the Philistines, You come to me with a sword?
You come to me with what?
With a sword?
You come to me with a sword. Read.
And with a spear? And with a shield?
And with what?
And with a shield?
And with a shield. Read.
But I come to you in the name of Yahuwah of hosts.
I come in what?
In the name of Yahuwah of hosts.
Hold what we got right there. Get me John 5:43. David say, you come to me with a shield and a spear and all of this stuff, but I come to you in the name of the Most High.
Yehukanan chapter 5 and verse 43. I am come in my Father's name.
I did what?
I am come in my Father's name.
I come in my Father's name. Just like David is telling you over here. I don't care what you come with. Sword, staff, knives, whatever it be. I'm coming in the name of the Most High. Finish that out. Start it from the top again.
I am come in my Father's name, and you receive me not.
And you don't even receive me, but what?
If another shall come in his own
If
name,
somebody else come in their own name, Amrafield or something, read.
him you will receive.
Him you will receive. Let's go back. Pick it up at verse 46.
Verse 46. This day will Yahuwah deliver you into my hand, and I will smite you.
That was what?
And I will smite you.
I will smite you, read.
And take your head from you.
I'm going to take your head from you. So imagine the champion over there, the Chicago Bulls that won 72 games is coming, and they playing the Washington Generals or somebody. And the Washington Generals is looking at Michael Jordan and them that won 72 games and saying, we about to take y'all head from y'all. Read.
And I will give you a carcass of the host of the Philistines.
I will do what?
I will give the carcass of the host of the Philistines this day unto the fowls of the air and to the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a power in Israel.
Oh, what we got right there. Let's get Revelation 19 and 16. Matter of fact, pick it up at verse 15.
Revelations chapter 19 and verse 15. And out of his mouth goes a sharp sword.
Out of his mouth goes a sharp sword. Remember, David put that stuff down. So he's going to kill you with the sword of his mouth. Read.
That with it he should smite the nations.
Smite who?
The nations.
Smite the nations. Read.
And he shall rule them with a rod of iron.
Read on.
And he tread the winepress of the fierceness and wrath of Almighty Yah.
Read on.
And he hath on his vesture and on his thigh a name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords.
Man, these people don't know who they messing with. Read.
And I saw Malachi standing in the sun, and he cried with a loud voice, saying, to all the fowls that fly in the midst of Shamayim,
all the fowls that fly in heaven. Read.
Come and gather yourselves together unto the supper of the great power.
Read.
That you may eat the flesh of kings.
Didn't David say he gonna get a flesh to the fowls of the air and the beast? Read.
And the flesh of captains.
Read.
And the flesh of mighty men. And the flesh of horses. And of them that sit on them. And the flesh of all men, both free and bond, small and great.
So right here we see the same thing that David is telling this Philistine, that the Messiah gonna do the exact same thing. This is why he speak in similitude. Let's go back to Samuel, 1 Samuel 17, and pick it up at verse 47.
Verse 47. And all this assembly shall know that Yah saved, not with the sword and spear.
Not with the sword, because he said the sword of his mouth. Read.
For the battle is Yahuwah's, and he will give you into our hands. And it came to pass, when the Philistine arose and came and drew near to David, that David hasted and ran towards the army to meet the Philistine.
Read.
And David put his hand in his bag and took thence a stone and slang it.
And did what?
And slang
so
it.
David slang it like they slang them rocks. Read.
And smote the Philistine in his forehead.
And did what?
And smote the Philistine in his forehead.
Smote the Philistine in his forehead. Where does the mark of the beast go? Read.
And the stone sunk into his forehead.
Sunk into his forehead, because the Most High said that they will have his name written in their foreheads. Read.
And he fell upon his face.
He did what?
He fell upon his face.
So he fell upon his face. Read.
To the earth. So David prevailed over the Philistine.
So when he fell upon his face, right there, what does that symbolize?
Every knee shall bow.
You was sharp, my man. Get Isaiah 45. Oh, we got Isaiah 45 and 23. Yep.
Yeshayahu, chapter 45 and verse 23. I have sworn by myself.
I have did what?
I have sworn by myself.
I have sworn by myself. Read.
The word is gone out of my mouth in righteousness.
And what?
And shall not return.
In what?
In righteousness.
In righteousness. Read.
And shall not return. That unto me every knee shall bow.
Every knee shall bow. So even though Goliath didn't like it, and he was dead when he did it, you still did it. Get Romans 14 and 11.
The book of Romans, chapter 14, verse 11. For it is written.
For it is what?
For it is written.
We just read it. Read.
As I live, saith the Master, every knee shall bow to me.
Every knee shall bow to me. Read.
And every tongue shall confess to Yah.
All right, let's go back. Last couple scripts. Samuel 15. Pick it up at verse 50.
Verse 50. So David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and with a stone, and smote the Philistine, and slew him. But there was no sword in the hand of David. Therefore David ran and stood upon the Philistine.
He did what?
David ran and stood upon the Philistine.
So now David has ran, and now he's standing on the Philistine. What does this symbolize, anybody?
The enemy should be your footstool.
Absolutely. Let's get it. Matter of fact, finish this out and then we'll get that.
Then David ran and stood upon the Philistine, and took his sword and drew it out of the sheath thereof, and slew him, and cut off his head therewith. And when the Philistines saw their champion was dead, they fled.
They fled. And that's exactly what the world gonna do when the MessiYah jump. But he said that David is standing on this guy now. Let's get Psalms 110. Show you what this symbolizes. Psalms 110 and 1.
Psalms chapter 110 and verse 1. Then Yahuwah said unto my master, sit you at my right hand until I make your enemies your footstool.
Footstool, because he's going to stand on his enemies in a minute. They're going to be his footstool, just like Goliath, just like David was standing on Goliath. Last script, let's get Ephesians 1 and 22. Go ahead.
The book of Ephesians, chapter 1 and verse 22. And hath put all things under his feet.
Did what?
Put all things under his
He
feet.
put all things under his feet. The enemy gonna be the footstool. Read.
And gave him to be the head over all things to the congregation.
So the moral of this is, you got that rope in your window. You under that covenant. When when Yahusha come, will you be like in Rahab's house? Or will you be somebody else on that other side of the wall, falling? And the 10,000 at this side and 1,000 at this side falling. So it's imperative that you have that rope, so to speak, or that blood on your heart and do what he say. Other than this, he'll be standing on you, just like David standing on that Philistine. So with that, say shalom. Shalom. Any questions, comments? Any questions, comments, anything? All praises to the Most High. All right. You got nothing? Let's got anything? Something else? All right. So we got nothing. We're gonna pray out.